Good evening out there. Hello out there in Mondays Beyond the Mic world. Thank you for tuning in. Once again, this is Harlem Girls Inc. I am Coach Pache Felton, and that is
Dr. Elaine Sanders. Good
where
evening,
we
everyone.
and we just want to say welcome once again to Mondays Beyond the Mic, the place where we go beyond surface level topics, where we just dive a little deep and we share our personal experiences. So once again, we want to thank you for returning. We thank our faithful followers for always tuning in and making Mondays exceptional. We thank you if you are a newcomer, and we hope that you will return with us. As always, a personal disclaimer: we are not experts, but what we are doing is sharing from our own personal experiences. We're here being vulnerable in the hopes that we will help someone transform or go get help in any area that they think they need help in. And a few house rules, not even a few, one main house rule: respect, respect, respect. Everyone's opinion will be respected here on Mondays Beyond the Mic. And before we even continue on, my co host, would you like to say anything?
Of course. So, good evening again. And we want you to remember to like, share, subscribe, and give us some super chat. So, we're excited about the topic tonight. So, let's go, co host.
All right, so our topic tonight is love on hurt. And remember, we are in the month of July, and the month of July is coming to an end, but we have been in this book, How to Be an Adult in Relationships. I think we all need a little bit of that, how we do adulting in relationships. I think we can all grow in that area. And in this book, David Rico talks about the 5 keys to mindful loving that he thinks are important. And we have discussed the 5 A's. But before we do that, I just want to say the author David Rico, he's a psychotherapist, a teacher, a writer, and workshop leader. And he expands upon the 5 keys to mindful loving. And according to him in the book, he believes the 5 A's, as a recap, are necessary in every relationship. And the 5 A's are attention, acceptance, appreciation, affection, and allowing. So that is the 5 A's, and that's what he believes that we need to display and share in relationships. So at that point, before we continue, we do our little commercial breaks, and we have some faithful followers in here. We have some people in the balcony. They're not in the chats. We see y'all up there. So thank you for tuning in. And we have some faithfuls on here.
Hey, Corey. He said, hey, ladies.
Hey, Corey. And of course,
Hey, Anae. She said, hey, at Pache Felton. And Dr. Elaine. Hey, Anae. Thank you. Landon said, get on up. All right.
look, let's do it, Landon. Sounds like Landon. I like the energy, Landon. So let's get on up. So we're going to get on up. So as you know, as we're coming to a close, I'm going to read this portion of the book, and then we will open our discussion from there. Of course, going forward, we're going to stir the pot. We're going to drop the link. Again, this is a platform where we want men and women to learn from one another, opposed to just sit around talking about each other in our own separate groups, men in men groups and women groups. So we want to come to a conclusion and a resolve. How can we move forward in these relationships? So in the book, in this chapter, Light on Hurt, he says, since the 5 A's are the components of emotional support, when we don't receive them, we feel physically, emotionally, and spiritually disconnected and isolated. The lack of any of the 5 A's feels like a gap in our psyche, a hole, or a deficiency within us. So, co host, what do you think about that?
I think that is spot on because we all have the need to be validated. And especially if you're in a relationship, right? We may not want to be validated by everyone, but if you are in a relationship with someone, whether that's an intimate relationship or a romantic relationship or a friendship, you want to feel some validation throughout the relationship. So I absolutely do agree with that.
Awesome.
So, I mean, we can ask our audience, like, what do they think about it as well?
Right, we have some questions. You want to ask me any questions? questions you can ask me and ask the audience at the same time. I'll say my opinion and they can drop theirs in the link. But before we get started, we have to do our commercial break and acknowledge our faithfuls.
Antoinette said, "Good evening, all. Good evening, Antoinette." The psalmist says, "Blessed blessings, Harlem girls. Let's go." Well, we're ready.
Let's go. We ready, the psalmist? We hope you
Bravo
ready.
from Sheila says, "Blessing, Harlem girls, ain't blessings." Pastor Sheila.
Blessing. The psalmist, I take that back because we know you stay ready. You stay ready. So I kind of take that back. I take that little comment back. So let's kick it off. Let's start with question one. What would you like to ask me and our audience?
Okay, just to recap, just please note, audience, if you have something you want to say to this question, put it in the chat and we will read it. So the first question is, how does a lack of attention from a partner affect the dynamics of a relationship?
That's a good question. I think the lack of attention, it can lead to feelings of neglect, such as a partner may feel unimportant, undervalued, increased loneliness. A lack of attention can make a partner feel isolated if they're not getting that attention from the one that they really want to get it from. Who doesn't want attention from their partner? In addition to that, self-worth. The partner may still want let's see, the self-worth. Does the partner still want me? Those thoughts tend to rise up if I'm not getting attention, right? If I'm here, even if you're living together, even if you're not living together, and that partner that you want that attention from is not giving that to you, it can, in my opinion, to some degree affect your self-worth. And you start thinking, am I good enough for this person? Does this person still want me? And not only that, even within that can cause one to seek attention somewhere else outside of the relationship. That's some things I think can affect,
Okay.
a lack of attention. And we have some comments already. Okay. Let's see. Commercial break.
The psalmist
Who do you
says,
want?
if there is no true relationship at all and no walls up, will not be an issue.
Hmm.
We have another. Antoinette said, "No attention makes me wonder, do I even matter? Don't want to be with me."
Right. Again, back to my point, those feelings, right? Self-worth. Am I good enough? Do he really want me? Does she really want me? It's not always, the women having these feelings.
Yeah, I was going to say, just to kind of add on to that, I think it's almost like I need us to be consistent. If you started giving me when you were pursuing me or when we started the relationship, like finish how you started in terms of whatever that attention was, because whatever the level was for you to fall in love with that person, it's like when we say keep that same energy. I want you to keep
Mhm.
that same energy and not pull away. Or if there's a reason, then communicate what that reason is so we can realize, or can we come to a resolve about it? Or is the relationship in need of repair? Or do we need to go our separate ways opposed to just being in a relationship for the sake of being in a relationship?
And even to that point, did you send your representative and it was all a facade in the beginning? And now I'm tired of pretending. I think you spoke to this within your marriage
Mhm.
with respects to the shopping. And next, I never liked it. Well, I'll be darned. What do you mean you never liked it? So are you showing up with your representative opposed to being your authentic self? And we have some more. Listen, we love our audience. We have some more comments. Commercial break.
Nay, Nay said, you can think it's something you're not doing and you might try to overcorrect. That's true. And I think, and not to say that men don't do this as well, but I think women are like, well, maybe if I cook more, maybe if I do this more, maybe if, and it's none of those things. I
Hmm.
think a part of it is if an individual does not want to be kept, I don't care what you do, it's not going to work.
Absolutely. You can swing from chandeliers and do all that doorknobs. I don't want you. I don't want you. We're gonna move right on.
The psalmist says, also consistency is key. You're right, Dr. E. Thank you, psalmist.
Yes.
Antoinette said, exactly. What you did to get me, you have to do to keep me. And I think that's it. And I think what we do in relationships on both sides, we lower the bar once you have me.
So you get
And the
comfortable.
right, we get comfortable instead of saying no, I have whoever it is that I have chosen or we have chosen each other. We have to realize it's not the relationship. The relationship is work. It's not like, oh, we look cute together. And I think that's where people get stuck. No, it's beyond that. Can we have a conversation? Can we talk through whatever it is that's going on in your head, even if it has nothing to do with me? Like, what's on your mind? What's that look? What's that thought? To you, and not in an annoying way, but in a way to make your partner feel comfortable enough to just want to express themselves.
You said something that was key, and I was waiting for you to finish. Relationships are work. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. Even within that, we are forever evolving, learning, and knowing something about ourselves. And the same goes for our partner. So it's constantly working at it. Anything you don't work at, right, dots. So yeah, good point.
So we're going to
That's
move on to, oh,
okay. Next question.
we can move on to the next question.
Mhm.
What are, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I was clearing my throat. Sorry,
Oh.
guys.
What are the signs that a partner feels neglected, and how can you address this?
I would say for me, some signs are reduced communication when it's just, surface level conversation. How was your day? It was fine. Okay, you can elaborate. How you doing? I'm well. Just surface level, just straight to the point, not diving deep. Well, I had a rough day and this is what happened at work. Another thing can be emotional withdrawal, less interest in shared activities. We used to go out all the time. We used to go to the movies. Friday night was date night. Wednesday night, we just made dinner at home. But a lack of interest in those things starts to decrease. And it's like, okay, what's going on here? And also decrease physical attraction, especially if someone's love language was touch and that person's no longer touching. It's like, well, wait a minute, what's going on now? Or the other person's may be signs of appreciation.
Hmm.
Okay, I'm not being appreciated no more. I come home, there's no more roses on the table. He comes home, there's no new slippers. Whatever that looks like in your relationship. I don't know, slippers, ties, I don't know. A home cooked meal. Maybe she's always cooked dinner for him, right? Every night. And now your dinner in the oven, your dinner in the microwave, and it's not even cooked. It's from Popeyes or somewhere. Okay, so what's going on right now?
Oh, gee.
Right. Right. So the decrease of physical affection, I think that's one. That's a big one.
Okay. I mean, I would also like add to that and just say, and I think you touched on it, emotional availability. Because
Hmm.
when we get into relationships, for the most part, if we're talking about long term, beyond the physical attraction to someone, is how do we connect emotionally? Do you understand, to your point, my love language? Do we have those conversations? And when that person, again, how we started, or how what you did to get me, now we're not there. I think that's the baseline. And I think not comparing your relationship to someone else's, because if this works for you two, don't say, well, look at them. And I think also, yeah, I just think you just need to know what works in your relationship, and then keep constant communication as a result of it.
The thing you said is key fact. I often say that don't look to outsiders or what's on social media. As I always say, it's really not real. And so-called what society says is a normal relationship. A normal relationship is what works for you and your partner.
Mhm.
That's what works for you and your household, not what everybody else is saying, or a trend or a fad that's going on now in social media world. So great point. Okay, I have some questions for you and the audience. And my questions have to do with acceptance, one of the A's. And the first question is, what are the consequences of not feeling accepted by your partner?
I would say one of the consequences would be withdrawal. So you'll start to avoid, and so okay, well, you're not paying me any attention. I'm gonna start hanging out with my friends. That becomes like a consequence. I would also say another consequence is you're together, but you're doing things separate, but only showing up for
Mm,
the together events. So if I know we have a gala to attend or something, okay, we're gonna get dressed, we're gonna go to this gala, we're gonna do this, we're gonna play the part, we're gonna act the part, but then we don't speak the whole ride in the car. We
hmm
are social at the gathering, at the gather or the gathering, and then when we get back in the car, we're silent until we get home. So silence, lack of emotional availability, I believe is a big part of it. Um, and then it also could be cheating because you say, okay, the consequence, well, if you're not paying me any attention, there's somebody else who will. So I think
hmm
those are some of the consequences of that.
And that's a good point that you brought up, living in the same house and doing things separate. I know I have a male friend who actually got divorced, and I was, kind of trying to figure out and just was being nosy pretty much. Let me just put it plain, trying to find another word, but just being nosy. What led to the divorce? Like, what was one of the things? And what he shared was we were living in the same household, but living separate lives.
Mhm.
She was doing her own thing, I was doing my own thing, and I got to the point of what's the sense of even doing this?
And a lot
So
of
yeah,
times
very.
do that. I mean, especially if there's children involved, because they want to stay for the sake of the children,
Mhm,
and save face, or the lack of finances. We're in this house, but we can't afford to leave,
mhm,
right? But it's more detrimental for us to stay. But we'll stay here. We'll set up these rules. Don't disrespect me. Don't do this. Don't do that. But we are totally living two separate lives. And then I think a consequence of doing that is, God forbid somebody says, hey, I saw Johnny out with so and so. And now that wife or woman or vice versa, they can't say, like, yeah, I know we have this agreement. You just got to act like, really, you know, to kind of
but
go along to get along.
it reminds me, I don't know if you saw the movie Water Roses. It's
Yes.
an old movie, and when they got in that house, they tore that house and each other down. So that's what that reminds me of. Before I read the next question, the psalmist has something.
Stop comparing your relationship to your pastors and first ladies. Not all. Okay, okay, I'm not going to start. But I think it's
You already
it's
started.
right. But I also think it's beyond that because it could be not just your pastor and first lady. It could be any couple that you admire and you think like, oh my God, they get along so well, but you don't know the work that went in the background for them to get to that place. And if you're not willing to put in the work, then nothing. It's even with a friendship. If you're not willing to be put in the work for a friend, it's going to come to naught, or it's going to come to a head eventually because the communication is not there. And I think something that Pastor Sheila said before last week, when we start talking about relationships, it's harder for you to break up with a friend. It's harder for you not to talk to your friend. It's easy to break up with someone who is just a physical thing, or they're satisfying a need, and that need may be financial. Maybe this person pays the bills, or so there's not a real true relationship. The relationship is built on the wrong things.
Um, and I can attest to that. It is harder to break up with a friend, especially if you have what, three good ones, four good ones. So that means now I'm down to two. Now,
You need a trinity at least of friends,
yeah,
right?
you need to love these three. That's good. Okay, so we're still in acceptance, and I have another question. How can couples work on accepting each other's past and personal history?
Communication. I mean, I think the one thing I'm going to speak from me. I remember before I was getting married, and the one thing I asked my then fiance was, "Tell me your past. I need to know. I don't like surprises. Do not let a woman come up to me and tell me something I do not know." And it doesn't, when I say it doesn't matter, because whatever you did, your past is your past. But I never allow the other person or someone from the outside to feel like they have the upper hand. Because
Mhm.
people, when especially if somebody still feels a way about a person, and they can get in your circle or try to get into your circle, they will say little things. And if you didn't have that information and you're not armed with that information, it could cause a conflict in your current relationship. And I did have that happen, but I am grateful that he had already given me the backstory. So way before, and so when the person is talking, I'm like,
You're fading. Okay, my co-host is fading in and out.
oh, really?
Okay, let's see. Because you're
We
fading in and out, friend.
both
So
did.
until her,
I don't know. But
it's,
it just said, oh,
yeah,
in
you're fading
sound.
in and out. Yeah, you're frozen and faded, but now you're coming back. But we gonna keep pushing through. I think you're back. Let's go to the commercial break and see.
Okay. Kathy says, how do you see me in the relationship? Do you see me as your wife or mother?
And that's a good point. And even with that, she's stirring the pot already, and I didn't even get there. The other part I wanted to stir was even within that, have you ever heard of men saying, "Oh no, I can't mess with her because of her past"? And I actually was talking to someone, and I'm like, her past has nothing to do with you. That was before you. But I've encountered and spoken to men that can't get past what she did in her past. So I think that's kind of okay, double standard, because I'm quite sure if you tell your past, it might be something she'd be like, "Hey, bro, I ain't dealing with that."
But I also think you have to know, is that person for you? Because the person that's for you can handle everything that comes with you. It's almost like that. I think it's like a TikTok or a reel, and the guy's like, we getting together, and she's like, well, I got 5 kids. He's like, I'm their daddy now. So and so and so. That person who's your fit is like, okay, there's nothing you can
Right.
tell them that they're not like, okay, I got this. She was like, I like to fight. He's like, we just be fighting. Like,
Right.
whatever it is, you know, that you, whoever you are, your person has the capacity for you.
Mhm. Mhm. So let's go on.
Corey says it can be very subtle. The communication can be there, but it's what's said, the choice of conversation. True. You have to have real conversation, like real talk.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. I
You
can
say
say,
mhm.
one of the things I used to have, and I do it with my children as well. There's a point like today is you could tell me anything and there's no judgment. Does not matter what it is. I cannot come back with whatever this piece of information is, because
Mhm.
to give you the free, it's like today is the day. Get it out and then we're going to move on. And you have to be, and this is the thing that I often say, and you know this, never ask a question you are not prepared for the answer.
How
So
many
don't
times do we have conversation? Lord have
say, and
mercy.
you say to people, and I tell them, if I ask you a question, I am prepared for the answer. If I'm not prepared, I'm not going to ask the question, because I'm like, no, mentally, emotionally, you're not there for the answer. Are you ready to hear what the truth looks like or sounds like? And you
Mhm.
can't get mad because you asked the question. So any
Right.
question you ask, prepare yourself for the answer.
Absolutely. Look, I'll faithful. They saying you're
I
frozen.
sorry, that was earlier. I was in the matrix. I took the blue pill.
Yeah,
What can I tell you?
right. Right. You took the blue pill.
The psalmist says, "Mama boy syndrome." Not
Not at
all.
all.
Not
Just,
all.
just okay. So let's go on to our
I
next
do.
day. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say I think that's a very interesting thing because I was just having a conversation this morning about that, and I said, sometimes we say there are not a lot of good men, or certain type of men, and I said a lot of mothers have to blame because if they didn't have, if their man or the father wasn't whatever, they then make their sons
Mm-hmm.
the focus, and then he then goes out and looks for a woman who's going to treat him like his mother, or his mother will say, well, my son, whatever, like, instead of training or doing your best to put him around other men or understand the responsibility of manhood.
Okay, that's good. The psalmist. Okay, Miss
I
Kathy,
thought that
that
was
was the
interesting.
psalmist answering your question. So that's a good point. And
And you
we're
got my
loving the
2 cents for
interaction.
free.
That and how about that? And it was only 2 cents. It was free. It was free. So what they need to do before we go on to appreciation? What they need to do,
Oh,
co-host?
absolutely. I need you to like, share, subscribe, and I'll be very happy with the, or we will be very happy with the super chat.
Super chat, super chat. So we're going to move on to our next A, and I believe we are on appreciation.
Yes. So in appreciation, here's the question. What are the effects of a lack of appreciation on relationship satisfaction?
Mm, lack of. I would say feelings of sadness, frustration, loneliness. There can even be resentment, bitterness. Over time, the underappreciated partner may develop resentment and bitterness towards the other partner for the lack of appreciation. There can also be a change in behavior. The unappreciated partner may stop making the efforts, I should say, to make the relationship work. And as we said at the top of the hour, relationships are work. So for me, I can say I've been in this situation before, feeling underappreciated. And it's to the point, it's like, ah, whatever, okay, you're then in the microwave. Like, what am I, and to your point that you made earlier, why am I the only one working at this relationship? Right, yeah, you're then in the microwave. It's no longer cooked. It's not longer hot. Here you go on a tray, sit down. Let me help you out. You had a hard day. It's over there.
Yeah.
It's over there. So those are some things I can say a lack of appreciation. Definitely sadness and frustration.
Yeah. And I mean, I would add to that and just say, like, isolation.
You're dragging.
You start to
Isolation.
isolate yourself from,
You're dragging. So as she's coming back through, she's taking a lot of blue pills tonight, baby. We don't know what's going on over there. I'm gonna have to come check on you because you out there. You out there today. But that's good. Yeah, lack of appreciation. I can see isolation as well. And I think it's tough when I can speak for me when you're a giver and you're a natural giver and you like doing for others and that appreciation is then taken for granted. And it's like, no, I'm doing this because I really want to do it. I'm doing it from my heart. And for you to think I'm just a doormat, you can take your feet and just, after coming out the rain, and just like, hey, okay, that's what we're doing right now. I'm gonna show you how this works. And again, just I would venture to say it would cause someone to shut down.
okay. Am I
Okay,
back?
okay.
Am I okay?
You back. You back. You back. Let's go.
So let me ask this question really quick before I go back into the matrix. How can couples address feelings of being unappreciated without causing conflict?
Without causing conflict. I would say, first of all, timing is everything. Timing is key. When addressing any conflicts, find a calm place, a private place, and most importantly, in my opinion, is turn your phones off. Give your undivided attention. Because if someone is sitting there pouring a heart out to you and they're going, you hold on, wait, you're still, and especially if that was one of the issues, right? If that was really you go stay on your phone, really. So I think that's it. Turn your phone off. Something else, even when addressing it, you don't want to sound accusatory. So when you speak and say, I feel, tell them what you feel, not what you think they think you feel. And I believe you think, no, 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 no. If you're talking about your feelings, keep it to you. Use the I. Even within that, provide examples. Just don't say, I feel so and so, because the person may not be aware of what they've done or what they're even doing. So I think if you provide an example, remember when X, Y, and Z, this made me feel this way. Another one, stay calm. I said that. Stay respectful. And a biggie, I think, is listening without interrupting. Let your partner say what they need to say without interrupting. And sometimes that can come from being defensive because you want to get your point out and you're not really listening. But I say, listen, right? Dr. Hardy told us that. Listen,
Mm-hmm.
and the behavior comes after, right? So listen to what your partner is saying. Don't listen to respond. And lastly, I would just say acknowledge their feelings. Acknowledge what they're feeling. Just because you don't feel it doesn't mean that their feelings are invalid. Everyone's feelings are valid. People feel how they feel for a reason. So when your partner is sharing what you don't, oh, that's what you're talking about? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Don't be dismissive. So those are some things I think that can help. Oh, we have some. Oh, before we move on, commercial
Well,
break.
they're going back about the comment earlier.
Okay, okay. Oh, Kathy and the psalmist.
Yes, just clearing
Okay.
up, right?
Yeah,
I,
yeah, no, and I had the conversation.
I think to your point, I think those are all excellent points. I think I would also add to that when you are having those conversations, to be able to repeat back and say, you know, what I'm hearing you say is,
Hmm.
so that the person knows, and then they can say, no, that's not what I mean, or yes, you're now hearing me, right?
Right.
Um, I think conflict is good with the right amount of, um I guess, parameters around it, right? Like if
Okay.
we're going to get into conflict, we're not going to hit below the belt. We're not going to say things
Mm,
to hurt, because hurt
hmm.
people hurt people.
Absolutely.
So if I'm hurt, I'm going to lash out. And you said it earlier, timing. If I say right now, I'm in a space and place. We know ourselves. And we know, like, if you come today, I promise you, if you come for me, you're going to get it. And this is not the time to have that conversation. And the person needs to respect and say, okay, can we have this conversation later on tonight? Or can we talk about this later? And then have that rule, especially if this is a married couple or whatever, like, we're not going to go to bed upset with each other. So that means either we're going to have this conversation now, or we're going to have this conversation later, but we're going to have this conversation before somebody goes to sleep, or we're going to be up all night.
And
But
that's a good point.
I, I think that that's something that needs to be established in the beginning. So, like your friend, you get to know them and say, well, how do you feel about conflict? So if I already know that, and my partner and I are having an issue, I already know either we're going to come to a real resolve, or we're going to be up all night and somebody, we're going to have to call out for work because we're going to be sleepy. So,
And that's a good point. And just to, I have a quick story with that. Again, was said in the beginning. The worst thing I could say for me, we know ourselves, and I know me when it's a hot topic. I know myself and know I'm emotionally aware. I'm self-aware when I can handle the conversation and when I can't. And when I'm telling you I can't, just trust me on that. And I can remember one particular time a partner tried to make me talk, like literally, and I'm like, not right now, not right now, and proceeded to follow me. Next thing you know, when I tell you all the projects came out, I mean, I went to the clapping. If you, and the next thing you know, I was like, I just told you, I'm not, but I like to, it's not about what you like. I'm not in the space right now to talk to you respectfully. I'm not in the space right now to have this conversation. Give me a minute. If I say I need a week, give me a week, just depending on what the conversation is. If I say give me an hour, give me an hour. But don't try to force me to speak. When I tell you all the projects came out, all the hood, everything just came out.
Here's a question for you. Do you think had you and this partner had the conversation about conflict and how you handle it, it would have helped him to understand, you know, when I say I need a minute, I need you to respect that and give me the minute.
That I think both beforehand, yes, but addressing it when it came up, I did say, not right now. I am not in this space to have this conversation. I need X, Y, and Z. That didn't work. It just
Right, but I
was.
think at that time you
No,
both he
no,
was in space, right? And
right.
you were in another space, but had you had that conversation, just normal conversation, years or months ago, it would he may have clicked to say, I know I want to push this, but I
Mm-hmm,
know this is not
mm-hmm,
how she handles, conflict.
absolutely.
And I think that's understanding each other and what that like we talk about love language, but we also need to
Mm-hmm,
understand what does the conflict language look like.
mm-hmm. That's good. Okay. Well, before we move on, we have they're talking to us. Commercial break.
The psalmist says acknowledge without drama can be very key. Yeah.
So we don't need all the antics. Lady
Lady
Dawn B.
Dawn B. Hey, Lady Dawn B. She says open, honest, and non offensive language and conversations. Speak to the issue and stay focused on the facts. Offer an idea of how you think it can be resolved.
That's good. Offer an idea and have the conversation about that idea, how it can be resolved.
And Anae is clapping it up.
She's clapping it up. Okay, this is very good. Let's move on. What's our next A? Where are we? I think we are at affection.
Yes.
And this is a goodie for you. This is a goodie for you. How can couples with different affections needs find a balance that works for both of them?
I honestly think that, oh, wait a
Oh,
minute.
oh, oh, oh,
Hold on.
oh.
Stop the press. Let's go. I'll hold on. So we have a super chat. Always remember that each person's wiring is different. Expectations, low expectations, high. A person can only give you what they have at a given time. Acceptance, guard your heart.
That's good.
Thank you.
I never looked at it that way as acceptance, God, in your heart. It's a good way. Thank you,
Thank
thank
you
you, thank
for
you,
our
Brother
super
Wish.
chat.
Okay, we have a super chat, so I'm gonna go on back and you want me to read that question again for you?
Yes, please, because I got excited.
Okay. I think we both did. Hold on, wait a minute, stop the presses, the YouTube presses. So the question is, how can couples with different affection needs find a balance that works for both?
I think it goes back to something that Pastor Sheila talked about, the love languages and temperaments. I think if we really want to have effective relationships, those are the questions or the things we need to discover about each other to see, are we the fit for one another? If we have determined, yes, we are the fit for one another, then we need to figure out what that looks like. How do we come together? Like, what is that balance of who you are and who I am? How do we speak each other's language? How do I take off my, and I use the word pride or self, or not self-esteem, but my pride, and say, you know what, I yield to this person because when I think about it, I was wrong, and speak their language.
That's good. Take off the garment of pride. Pride. I just put the garment on because I can just because I think yeah, take off the garment of pride.
Because you could be
Somebody
like, well, I'm
said that's
always
a
right.
whole. That's a whole.
It, I think, and I think in a relationship, as you said something earlier, if we're always growing and evolving. So if my partner, I always want to be the student to my partner.
Mm-hmm,
I want to
mm-hmm,
learn, like, okay, this shifted. I need to learn that person. I would say it depends on how long you've been with a person. So if I've been with you, let's say if I was with someone for 4 years, I got a bachelor's. I would say I have a bachelor's degree in whatever,
right.
analogy, right? I don't
Allergy.
accept the name. I'm so please, if there's a John. So I have a bachelor's degree in Johnology, right? Um,
Mm-hmm,
if we're together and now it's 6 years, I have a master's in Johnology.
mm-hmm,
If we're together, I have a doctorate, a PhD in
right.
Johnology, because if it took me that long to study for something, we should be studying our partner. So any little like, and it made me think of what was that movie? Why Did I Get Married? And
Mm-hmm.
remember when, in a funny way, right? Angela was like, I know when he's lying. His heart rate is so and so. We don't have to be that detailed about it. However, she knew him. She knew him well enough. It was like, Marcus, every time you lying, this is what you do. Da-da-da-da. She knew him.
Mm-hmm,
And like, again, although in that movie it was a funny way that she was
mm-hmm,
showing it, but she knew her partner. And if that person is, and I'm gonna put that you are one another's assignment,
mm-hmm,
then I need to know you and you need to know me. And I need to be a student of my
mm-hmm.
partner. And I would want my partner to be a student of me, that anybody would say, no, they know each other. Like before, and like friendships, you could be with a friend, and before you finish your sentence, or you'll say, get out of my head, get out of my head, because you know each other well enough to know what their response is going to be. Or you can come to them and say, before I say this, I'm gonna need you to breathe. I'm gonna need you, because I know how you will respond. So I'm gonna put the parameters out there because I know how you receive information.
And that is so good because we're talking about right now affection, right? As one of the five A's. But look how that affection is tied back to the first A we talked about, which is attention.
Hmm.
So it ties into, yeah, you have to pay attention to your partner. And that's what it boils down to, paying attention and what you said, the associates, your bachelor's, doctorate, you got all that in
And then you take
jonology.
some
And John, what else you get?
extracurricular, some what they call them, professional development credits
Yeah.
afterwards, some continual education courses, because you're still evolving. And we have to think physically. Every 7 years, we change.
Yep.
Every
Yep.
7 years. You're not the same from 7 to 14, 14 to 21, 21 to
Yep.
28. We are not the same person. So we have to be able to say, if I'm in tune with my partner, I can notice the change.
Hmm. And before we move, I have another question for you. And of course, it's this one here. This is,
He
how
has
long you
a
been living here?
PhD in tomfoolery. Okay.
I'm gonna need you to get off that avenue and give that PhD back.
And
But
I
we
stay
love the
away from
tomfoolery.
Tom and his
Right.
foolery. No.
Love the banter we have with our audience and our faithfuls and our brothers and sisters out here. So the next question on affection: what impact does withholding affection have on a partner's sense of security and trust?
I would say when you hold back, it says to the person, you don't want me anymore. It's rejection, is what the feeling is,
Mm,
right?
mhm,
Because something that we used to do, you're now taking that from me. And it could be
mhm,
something as simple as time. You know, we used to, I don't know, Sundays, we, I don't know, went to brunch every Sunday. And now, oh, Sundays I'm going to play basketball, or oh, Sundays I'm going to do brunch with the ladies, or you didn't you did not cover that sacred time. So now I feel insecure in that area. And
Hmm.
now the trust, like, well, who are you with? Who are you? The time that you used to spend with me, who are you now spending? Did you really go to brunch?
Right.
Really
Was
go
you with
play
that
basketball?
partner? Hmm.
Did you really? Huh, he don't look like he. Now remember, if I know you, well, he don't look like he been sweating.
Look, his clothes don't smell like he been sweating. I know what sweat
Right.
smell like.
Right. And if you went to brunch, why she's still hungry? All those things that you will watch and not necessarily, you may not say something, but to me, those are
Hmm.
key things. So it is,
Hmm.
it is a way that we can make our partners feel insecure and lack
Hmm.
of trust by just, we change up without conversation. Maybe I just need a
Yeah.
break. And that's what I need to
And
say.
that's okay.
Right now I'm dealing with a lot of things, and whatever those things are, your partner should be there to share in those things with you. Because if you're looking at, I mean, if this is supposed to be your life partner, they should be doing life. So no part of your life should be, I just need this for myself. No,
Hmm.
they need to be involved. Doesn't mean they have to be over your shoulder every moment, but they need to know, like, okay, because what if you have kids? They need to be able to come in and say, your mom needs a minute. They can protect you from the outside world, and vice versa. If she knows your dad needs a minute or he needs a minute, whatever it is, because they're coming as a shield or someone having your back.
Yeah. And what I hear is communication. It has to be communication. So very, very good. Okay, we don't have any more comments in the chat right now, so we can move on to the last and final A.
And the last one is allowing. So the question is, what does it mean to allow someone to be themselves, and why is this important?
I think it's important to allow them to be their authentic selves because I think it goes both ways. Allowing them to be their authentic self, you get the true version of it, and it gives them the freedom to just be. It gives them the freedom to move without judgment or saying, okay, and to your point, communication, affection, we're talking about appreciation, all these things. If I'm not allowed, if your partner's not allowed to be their true authentic selves, where does their appreciation fall at? Right? Where does that fall in line? Because I may be appreciating something you're really not because I have my mask on. I'm not allowed, or I don't think I'm allowed to be myself around you. So I think just showing up as your authentic self and allowing your partner to be who they are authentically. And also encouraging them to be their authentic self. Again, to my point, no judgment, no criticism. I think in some relationships that it's a fair. If I share this much, if I share this much, will this person still be around? But to your point, if that's your person, they're able to take it all, right? Okay, that's all you got. Okay, what else you got? So
Hmm.
yes, encourage, and also because you don't want anybody that's fake. Well, I don't. I'm not going to talk for anybody else.
Well, you can speak for
Yeah, or
me.
you speak. Listen, I think it was the very first show I told you I'm nutty from the gate. This is what you're gonna get. Hello, too old to play charades. Remember the game charades? Mm-mm.
Hmm.
I don't know how to play that game. So allowing that person and also giving that partner the opportunity to say, that's too much.
Hmm.
Guess what? Now you're able to move on. So I think that's why it's important. And respecting personal choices, even if they're different than yours.
And I think, to your point, it also, when you show up as yourself, or when you don't show up as yourself, your partner is speaking the language of the representative and not your
Hmm.
language.
Then when you want to
So
become
you're
yourself,
now frustrated with someone because you didn't show up authentically as who you are. And I think when we are comfortable with who we are, and not, and that doesn't mean, you know, date one or date two, you like, here's all my stuff. Don't scare the person and run them away. But you feed people a little bit of you at a time as you're getting to know, because that's what trust is. I tell you a little bit and I'm going to see what you do with that information. I tell you a little bit more, let me see what you do with that information. And as time progressed, I realized the information in which I've given you, you have shown worthy of holding, and I'm going to use the word my secrets, or things about me that I didn't tell the world. So as you, a person begins to feed you their life, you then get the opportunity to decide at what point, or if not, do I, is this where I stop, or no, they could keep going. Like I said earlier, if you're my person, you're like, keep going,
Mm-hmm.
keep going. I have the capacity for you.
And back to that space of vulnerability, allowing that person to be vulnerable and be who they are. So that's what I think. Yeah.
Okay. No
One more before we start our pot.
questions. Yeah, we have one more
Okay.
question. And if I just, how can a lack of freedom to express oneself lead to internal conflict and stress?
Mm. To the point that we were just making, suppressed identity. Again, I can't get to be myself. I think any individual should be allowed a safe space to be themselves, to express themselves, to express who they are. I think of something as far as suppressed emotions, right? That can explode. You ever seen a Pepsi bottle and you just take any bottle of soda and shake it up? What happens? It explodes,
Hmm.
right? It's
Yeah.
overflowing. You can't get it. You can't get. You sure enough can't get it back in the bottle. I think that's what happens when individuals suppress their emotions. And then the partner's like, well, what happened? If that's the case, you should have been speaking up. I wish you would have talked a little sooner. But again, was that space created? Was I allowed to be myself? If I had to suppress my identity, if I had to suppress who I really am, now I just can't take it anymore. And I think everybody has that boiling point. The other thing I would say, the stress of having to pretend to be somebody else, or always wear that mask. That's a job within itself. So those are the things I think. And we do have, you have anything? Because we have some commercial breaks, some comments.
Oh, no, we can go to commercial break. The psalmist says, do we truly have the capacity for each other? I think when you have your person, yes, you do. And if we look back at some, I'm going to call failed relationships, we didn't have the capacity, or the person didn't have the capacity for us. And we was like, oh no, I'm not putting up with this. You will put up with a person that you truly love, and not someone who's using you. Now, that's a difference. It's like your children. Sometimes, you know, I have 3 children. Sometimes I don't have the capacity. In my head, I'm like, I don't have the capacity for y'all. But at the same time, I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere. Because my love for them is strong. And if my love for the person who authentically loves me back, I'm going to have the capacity for my person.
And that's good.
Vice
Well, I
versa.
think you answered the part two of it. And he said, what does that look like? So that's what it looks like. And right now, what we are going to do, ladies, let's brace ourselves because we're going to start a pot. And I think this one is kind of on us to, share and, what we do. We're going to start a pot. I'm going to drop the link and let's see how this turns out.
In their relationship.
Mhm.
I think a lot of women underestimate how unappreciated a lot of men feel in their relationships, in their dating process, in the efforts that they're trying to make. And I think part of that lack of appreciation, two things hit in my spirit that I feel the need to say. One reason why it tends to happen a lot more than a woman may realize, even for herself, is because showing appreciation requires vulnerability. All right, showing that you're thankful and giving that love and that warmth that comes from uh, what he's been pouring into you, that requires a level of vulnerability that a lot of women are scared to show, because again, what they've been through before, what they have not resolved, feeling like their showing of appreciation in the past has gone unappreciated, right?
Okay, what do you think about that? Us as women.
I totally agree. I think, and I go back to something I said, one of my former pastors used to say, uh, we will bleed on people who did not cut us. We have to realize when we come into a relationship, a new relationship, we can't think that everybody's going to do us like the other person. So what we do is we'll just hold off and not be in a relationship at all because we think everybody is the same. That's not true. So you do have to give people the opportunity to show you who they are. But I also, and I probably get in trouble for this, but I also believe if that is an issue for you, this is my opinion and what I would suggest. You do not have to listen to me, but I think that the person, if it's a woman, right, if these are the issues that you have, maybe you should date multiple people. And I'm gonna say again, I didn't say sleep with multiple people. I said date multiple people. So this way you're getting an idea, because sometimes we get so locked into one person that we're not saying like, okay, well, am I accepting this because I think this is the only person who's going to talk to me, versus, you know what? I don't like this, but I do like this. And be clear on whoever you're talking with, right? So don't just pretend like, oh, we're in this wonderful relationship, and then you in these other three relationships. That's not what I'm saying. You are trying to get data. You are trying to figure out, do I feel comfortable here? Can I express myself here? What is it that I'm looking for? So then there becomes the process of elimination, and you could say, you know what, it was really great knowing you.
hmm So what I'm hearing you say, and I'm pretty much summarizing it, is us as women, we shouldn't carry our baggage over and withhold that part of showing the man that we appreciate him
Mhm.
because of what happened to us in the past.
Absolutely. I think every man or everybody wants to hear like thank you. I mean, you take me to dinner. I'm not gonna be like, oh, thank you for dinner. I appreciate it. I'm not gonna be like, well, you took me to dinner, you ate too. No, it's gonna be like, I appreciate, thank you for spending this time. I appreciate, thank you for dinner. I really had a great time. If you really had a great time, don't lie. Um, if not, thank you for dinner. If you didn't have a great time, just thank them for dinner. But if you had a great time, I appreciate your effort of picking this restaurant. I appreciate the fact that
Mhm.
you initiated whatever. And it depends on where you are in the relationship, right? Because again, familiarity, the more you're in the relationship, the less you kind of expect versus saying thank you. Just realize the same thing. You still want people to say please and thank you. I don't care how many times you hold the door for someone, you still expect them to say thank you.
Mhm.
So I
And to
think
your
that
point,
expectation should be in the relationship.
yeah, and like you said at the beginning, keep that same energy. And one of the things you just stated, as far as if he picks the restaurant, again, paying attention, right? Because those are things you discuss, right, in the beginning of dating. Oh, I like going here. Oh, I like going here. And he actually says, "Hey, I made reservations over here." It's like, oh, he paid attention to that.
Mhm.
What's the harm in showing appreciation? Is nothing wrong saying, "Hey, you remember? Like you remember what I said on our first date? That's very, very interesting. I appreciate that. Thank you." And then that also tells them, right? It goes back to one of the A's, allowing that person to be who they are, giving them the freedom to say, okay, they are able to be who they are, and you create that space for them. So that's really good. Hey, the psalmist, and before we move on, Landon is talking to us. Commercial break.
Hey, Landon. He says first come, first serve does apply to women. Thanks for bringing for, for, for bringing it up. Lady Dawn B says some don't understand what appreciation looks like towards their man, so they don't show it. They think it's being shown in the basic things we do and have become desensitized to the need to be intentional.
Oh, yeah. Intentionality in relationships, I believe, is very important because again, it shows that
If I can
appreciation.
think about this at work, you have and I'm not that you're going to do a performance review with your spouse or your significant other, but at the end of that performance review at work, there is an appreciation, right? So either you're going to get a pay increase, you're going to get something. So my thing, if we're forever, we go to work and we're doing mid-year reviews, we're doing end of year reviews, why don't we take some of those principles? Not now, don't say here you satisfactory. Here's your scorecard. That's not what I mean. But what I am saying is to be able to evaluate where are we 6 months from now, where are we like let that be an intentional conversation. What are we building? Because if we're not building together, and I think those are the couples that work well, if they can understand what we're building towards. If we're just sitting here, you look good, I look good, you look good, I look good, okay, after a while we're gonna stop looking good to each other. But if we
Right.
know we're something while looking good, right? There's a difference of like, okay, I think both parties will respect one another at such a different level because it's beyond the physical. Now they're tapping into the mental aspect of where they're going. So, and I'm just using this. Beyonce could walk in the room and they'll be like, yeah, she cute, but this is the person.
Co-host on them blue pills tonight. You out the matrix? Okay.
I'm
So the
out the matrix.
psalmist. Okay, the psalmist. So what been? How have you been? I can't hear you. You're not on mute, but there's no sound coming out your
He
microphone.
took the red pill.
Oh shucks, y'all on them pills tonight didn't tell me nothing. Well, I guess I don't need it, right? If you on the blue, he on the red, somebody got to be sane up here and not caught up. Okay, we can hear you. We can hear you. So let's
I'll
just
come
keep.
back.
No, we can hear
I'll
you.
come back.
Okay, he'll come back. So absolutely to your point. Very good point. So the A's, I think the A's are as we come to a close. We're not closing out right now, but I think this book here is very informative about relationship. It doesn't just talk on it's mother, daughter, son. It's just relationships across the board and how the 5 A's work in relationship and how necessary they are within the relationship. Let's see, I think he's back up. Let's see. Talk to Thomas. Okay. So again, so I would ask you, co-host, out of the
Mm-hmm.
5 A's, which one, they're all important, right? She said, oh Lord. Which one would you say is most important to you or is in alignment with your love language? Let's put it that.
Okay, that's not a bad question. I thought you were gonna ask me something else. Um, I would definitely say appreciation. I would say appreciation. Um, because yeah, I am a thank you. I appreciate that kind of person.
Mhm.
So appreciation for me would be my number one out of these A's.
Okay.
And what
I
about
was,
you?
I knew you was coming for me. I knew you was coming for me. So I was putting it together. So one, I would say that's in alignment with me. If I had to pick, I would say affection.
That's funny because that's like my last one. No.
Well, we know we're opposite. We know we are total opposite. That aligns with me, my love. Yeah, I ain't gonna tell y'all my love language, but the affection aligns up with me. I would have to pick affection first. Pastor Chris, talk. Oh, okay, that's not
I don't
working
think he
out.
can hear us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say
So
probably if I had to pick two, it would be or my top two, it would be appreciation and allowing. I think
appreciate.
and if I'm sorry.
No, no, I was saying what you're saying. Appreciation and allowing.
Me
She's back
is
on those. So while my calls gets off those pills in the chat, let's just see because I don't know what's going on with my co-host and the psalmist. They didn't tell me about the matrix that they were going in today, but thank God I'm not in there with them. So if you know your love language out of the A's, right? We went through the A's. Which one would you say is most important to you? We know they're all important, but which one would you say is your top? And I'm going to read the 5 A's again. It's attention, acceptance, appreciation, affection, and allowing. Again, we have attention, acceptance, appreciation, affection, and allowing. Drop it in there, your chat. Talk to us. Which one would you say is the most important to you? I need some Jeopardy music.
am I still in the matrix?
No, you're free to talk now. But before you go continue, you need to tell our followers, the people on the beaches, the balconies, the bushes, under the couch, under the bed, what they need to do.
Okay, for all the people in all those places, we need you to like, share, subscribe, give us a sticker, give us a super chat. We got one super chat of the night. Yay, we would love to have another super chat. But like I said, those costs, the other like, share, and subscribe are free 99. So please, thank you.
Thank you. So the psalmist, unfortunately, is having trouble. He cannot get his mic to work, but he is still chatting with us, and he did drop his, and he said his is words of affirmation. So that's good. And I think these are things we need to share, and so your partner can know what it
Yeah.
is that's most important to you. And I think this is a good way to align it with your love language to see if they're in alignment. How do they line up? So I think
And
this was. Mhm.
No, I was going to say, and I think, like you said, if we're having that conversation with our partners and we know, so let's say, for instance, what was yours? What was the A?
Me,
Affection? Yes.
affection.
So I'm going to say, what if I had a partner and his love language was affection, and that may be my last one, but it's his first. So I need to understand, I need to work on showing affection towards
Hmm.
him. And he understands he needs to work on showing appreciation towards me. Because often what we do is we give people what we want and not what they want,
Hmm.
what they
Hmm.
need, right? Because if someone's saying, I need affection, and you're like, but I need appreciation. So we're fighting over, you should want what I want. No, I respect you as an individual. And now remember, relationships are work. So I need to now make that conscious effort to say, am I showing affection? And vice versa. Is
Hmm.
he showing appreciation?
Okay, they talking to us. So you have your sister out here, Kathy says.
Appreciation. All right, Kathy. That's right. We need to be
All right.
appreciated.
Yeah, you got another one.
My fingers to the bone. No. So appreciation and acceptance are equal to me, Lady Dawn B.
Okay, I would break that down. Break that down. Let's see.
Um, yes,
Yes.
needs A, B. I don't know. Oh, yes, needs and wants are two different things. Okay. See, when I
Absolutely.
see ABD, I thought all but dissertation. Don't do that to
Right.
me.
Flashback. Total flashback. Look, those were the days, right? Oh, how I remember those days. I didn't take it, but I took it.
I
I wasn't
understand.
there, but I was there. So I get it. I get it. So again, I think this conversation was great to have. Remember, we are at the end of July. Can you believe we're already in August?
I know. Half of the year is over.
Yes. In this book, again, we were in how to be an adult in relationship, the 5 keys to mindful loving. We talked about the A's. Hopefully, this month you were able to glean something from these conversations. We had guests on, counselors on, just to help us navigate these tough conversations and these topics we had as far as how good for us was our family. We talked about a lot of things this month. So if you didn't catch it, guess what? It's a whole month worth of information up on YouTube. We don't even pull it down and it is free 99. How about that? So once again, we thank you, we thank you, we thank you. Again, we could not do this without you. Also, we thank you for tuning in. As always, co-host, do you have anything you want to leave the people with?
The thing I would leave with tonight is learn who you are so you can show up for the person that's for you
So I
as I
believe
go
she
into the
said, learn
matrix.
who you are. Yeah, I believe she said, learn who you are so you can show up for the other person. You're out of the matrix. Was that what you were saying? Okay, see, we
Yeah,
got you covered. So again,
we
thank
here.
you, and we here. And hopefully we will see you in the month of August. I said the month of August like it's not next week. Hopefully we will see you next week. We have some brand new topics for you, of course, regarding relationships. So we thank you. Again, you could have been anywhere else, but you decided to be here with us on Mondays Beyond the Mic. We thank you. We appreciate you. Y'all paid attention to us. Y'all see these A's coming out. Y'all allowed us to be ourselves. I'm being silly. But we thank you. We thank you. We thank you.